Hello, good morning, happy Sunday. Welcome into Let's Bet It. Lauren Javar here with Jared Smith and Alex Glaze. Jared, it's like 5 a.m. your time right now. How the heck are you even up? It's Sunday and you're up.
Not quite. It's 10 a.m. in the East. It's 7 a.m. here in Vegas. I was up at 5, but I'm getting used to it. I'm getting used to the Pacific time zone schedule. Maybe I'll have to make it a permanent thing, but not quite yet. I am flying home tonight.
Ooh.
I'll be back East tomorrow.
I was going to say, how long have you been in Vegas, dude? Like,
a whole week.
Way too long. Way too long.
Well, I had the tan going and everything.
Yeah, you got the tan going? Yeah.
More than 4 days in Vegas is too many days in Vegas. Guys, I had a travel story yesterday. Do you want to hear about it? Because it was wild.
Please.
Can I tell you?
On me.
Okay. So I'm in Chicago right now. I'm visiting my friends. I'm like, the end of the Hawk season. I'm going to get out of town for a couple days, just have some fun. So I hop on the plane at LAX with my dream and my cardigan. Just kidding. Alex rolls his eyes. No, I hopped on the plane in Atlanta, 3:30 flight, okay? So we take off into the air, get to Chicago, circle you around in the air. All of a sudden, the guy comes on, he goes, "Excuse me, everybody. So there's tornadoes in Chicago right now. So we are going to be circling around until we can maybe find a place to land or they let us land." We're like, okay, sounds good. We circle around for an hour and a half. And then he comes on again. "So we are running out of fuel. So we need to divert the plane." Divert the plane. We fly to Detroit. Land in Detroit. I call my mom. I'm like, "Mom, at this point, do you want to just come pick me up? Because I'm from Detroit." She's like, "Okay, keep me posted." And then they were like, "Okay, so we're actually not going to have anyone deplane. We're going to stay on the plane." We're like, "Okay, cool, whatever." An hour later, they're like, "Actually, we're going to be waiting another hour or two. So we're going to have everyone deplane so we can whatever." So we all deplaned. I freaking raided the little convenience store thinking that I'm going to be stuck for like years there. I bought like Lifesaver gummies. I bought beef jerky. I bought Cheez-Its. I bought Twix. I
Very
bought
healthy.
water. I'm like, I could feed a whole family with the amount of snacks that I bought. Finally, we reload the plane. And then we sit on the plane for another hour because there was more storms. So we're sitting on the plane in Detroit, finally take off. I'm supposed to land at 4:45. We landed at 11. Quick turnaround. Was out by 11:45 with my friends.
Yeah, I saw you were partying last night
delays
with all your friends. That's
no
what we
delays
call a
gonna
rally
hold
right
me down,
there.
Jared. No delays gonna hold me down. You know how they say puke and rally? It was plane and rally for me. So you know what? We made it happen. We're moving.
Well, here's the question: did you have enough episodes of whatever show you're watching loaded up on the iPad to?
No, she was making bets on the plane, Alex.
No, Alex,
firing off NBA bets.
I honestly I was like just sitting. Jared said he logged onto our Google sheet this morning. I have like 12 NBA bets for 2 games today. I just kept betting things. I had nothing else to do. I'm like, oh my God, I'm not going to have a bankroll left after this if we wait another hour. I'm like, I need to go somewhere. God bless. Speaking of, we're going to get into some of those NBA games today because I'm really excited about the 1,000 bets.
Yeah, you are.
Yesterday while sitting on the plane. The beautiful thing about it, though, I was in Detroit and in Illinois where it's legal in both states. So you love to see
the best.
We also have some NFL futures. Going to break down a little bit about the draft. I have one futures bet that I'm making. Alex has a couple. Jared, I think he's staying away at this point. It's a little early. We have some better up. Better, swing better. Talking about some baseball bets that we have, nerfies and yerfies, props, NBA morning radar. And then we can't end without our Pickswise 3-star play of the day and our best bets of the day. I'm like all worked up, guys, for my plane story. It's like PTSD at this point. I'm like sweating a little bit. It's okay. Without further ado, let's get into it. Let's bet it. NFL draft. A lot of interesting picks that were made. At this point of the season, Alex, do you have any early offensive rookie of the year or defensive rookie of the year picks for the awards?
Yeah, so when I'm looking at and thinking about these awards, right, you got to think about guys that are going to come in and make an immediate impact. So it's not always, the first guy off the board because those teams, they need a lot of – so those really aren't the guys. So while you might look at the Aiden Hutchinsons and the Trayvon Walker, like those guys, they might have good seasons, but I'm not really sure that those are the guys that I would bet on right now because there's so much value in other guys. So we'll start with the offensive guys. I'm looking at a guy like Garrett Wilson, who I think is going to a situation that could be beneficial for him and the Jets. And he's going in. He's not going to have to be the number one guy because, regardless of what you say, can think about Corey Davis. When he's healthy, he's a great receiver. And Zach Wilson is going to be hopefully utilizing both of these guys. The Jets just retooled across the board. I mean, they got Brees. I mean, they have a lot of dudes now. So this is going to be a very different Jets team than what we're used to seeing. So I'm interested to see how that plays out. But kind of along that same line of thinking, I'm looking at guys like Sky Moore, who are 11-1, and Chris Olave, 10-1, who can come in. Sky's going to be walking into that Chiefs offense. And, he, texts Andy Reid, apparently, thank you for bringing a guy like Sky, who's smaller, but long arms, sure-handed, quick. It's going to be interesting to see how he gets utilized in that offense. And Chris Olave walking into a Saints offense with Michael Thomas on the other side. So no pressure for these guys. So these are guys that can have big years. And you look at last year's winner, Jamar Chase, for Offensive Rookie of the Year. Like, they're just walking into great situations. So I think that at plus 850, 11-1, 10-1, I think those are the guys that I would back. But what I will also say, if there is a quarterback that you want to put your money on, because Herbert, I believe, won it 2 years ago, right? Herbert was the offensive guy, I think. Kenny Pickett. I mean, I know he's the favorite at plus 600, but that Steelers offense is really intriguing to me when you look at George Pickens, Chase Claypool, Najee Harris in the backfield. That Steelers offense is really interesting to me as well. So if there's a quarterback that I like, it's Kenny Pickett. But there are definitely some spots on the offensive side where I think.
Can I say who I think might make a play at Offensive Rookie of the Year? I look at a guy like Treylon Burks from Arkansas, 18th overall pick from the Titans. He's at plus 750 right now on FanDuel, and the Titans can use him in a very similar role to A.J. Brown, right? Derrick Henry's going to draw a lot of attention. It should open up the field for Burks a little bit, and he could get some big numbers. Ryan Tannehill, although he's not the best quarterback, he definitely has veteran leadership. He has veteran experience, and he knows how to find his receivers. So I can look at a guy like Treylon Burks and feel pretty good about it too, right?
Yeah, at this stage, exactly. It's tough. It's tough to get involved at this stage because I'll give you an example of last year's market and how it kind of came to fruition. So I bet Jamar Chase at the end of September at 5-1, and that obviously turned out to be a very good bet. At the end of September? At the sheet, September 28th. So now this market, I think these markets are beatable because Alex is right. There is an obvious choice that usually comes to the forefront relatively early. The quarterback situation this year is unique. I wouldn't touch Pickett. We don't even know if he's going to be a starter. I mean, it could be Trubisky. That's why in this market, I would wait because you just don't know how these guys are going to adjust and adapt to minicamp and then training. And then once they play, you'll know in week 1 or week 2, hey, this guy is grasping the offense. He's understanding what's happening. And then you can get in very quickly at that stage. Last year it was Jamar Chase. That was the first wide receiver actually since 2014, Odell Beckham. Prior to that, 3 out of the 5 were quarterbacks. So this is not a quarterback-driven award this year, I don't think. This is going to be a receiver. This is going to be a running back maybe. We've had Saquon. We've had Alvin Kamara win it as well. So I would lean to the running backs and the wide receivers this year. I am going to probably make a bet on this very early on in the season, but I see how these guys mesh and fit with the offenses that they're in before I fire away. But the guys you mentioned are all, I would say, Olave, Burleson. I mean, guys that I would certainly look to, but I just want to see how they fit with the Jets, especially. Kind of names they play in a division now with Tyreek Hill and Josh Allen, great offenses. So the offenses for the offense for the Jets is going to be very dynamic. I think that Garrett Wilson's certainly a guy. But I'm very intrigued with this market. I need to see it develop a little bit more before I dive in.
Yeah, Alex, who else do you have for some of your futures bets?
So on the defensive side, I mean, again, kind of along the same line of thing, you can make an argument for a lot of guys. I think, and Jared, you tell me what you think here. Jermaine Johnson at 9-1. I'm not sure what the reason. I'm not sure why he slid all the way down to the Jets, late in the draft here. But this is a guy that a lot of people have projected to be a top 10 pick. This is a guy that was the ACC Defensive Player of the Year last year. Like, this is a dude. And I think he's going to – I mean, Robert Saleh and the Jets were excited to get him at this pick. And I just think that he's going to be able to produce a lot with – the Jets defense, I really think I don't know. I don't want to say that I believe in the Jets. Do I believe in the Jets, Jared? The Jets.
I believe in the Jets.
They're going to be a very different team than
they had a great draft.
Yes, for them to make the postseason.
Am I high on the Jets right now? Like, maybe this is just recency bias, but I love what the Jets did.
I agree.
No,
I'm not low on the Jets.
Yeah.
I'll give you the history of this award. It's been a linebacker or a defensive end each of the last 4 years. Micah Parsons, Chase Young, Nick Bosa, Darius Leonard. So that's the position I would target. Last year, with Micah Parsons, I would say by week 5, the award was locked up as long as he didn't get hurt. Marshawn Lattimore was the last corner to win this award, and that was back in 2017. I probably wouldn't bet on a corner. Jermaine Johnson, there's a reason why he fell. I don't know what it is. He was projected to be a top 10 pick. He's a guy I would look to. But again, I bet on Micah Parsons right before week 1 of the season. And I never really felt the need to come off of it at any time. I don't know where I'll be in September, but I will likely be targeting one of these defensive ends. I think it's hard. The Trayvon Walker, Aiden Hutchinson, those are the obvious choices. I'll be honest, though. Kayvon Thibodeau, he could be a dude. And the Giants play in a division with not a lot of great offenses. Washington, Dallas is a little bit up in the air. We don't know Dak, and they got rid of Mark Cooper. So I could see that Giants defense being a little bit revamped this year with Kayvon being a Justin Tuck, Michael Strahan type of impact. So I would definitely look to a D-end or a linebacker. But again, I think we're at that point where you can start to look and formulate your thoughts, but I wouldn't press submit on a bet until I get closer to the season and maybe even week 1, week 2, just until I see how these guys mesh. You never know. Some of these guys might, in training camp, they just might completely not grasp the offense or the defense, and that news will become public and we'll be able to digest it. So we can definitely start to formulate our plan of attack now, but I'm still a little hesitant with hitting submit on some of these bets because it's a long way until we get to week 1 in September.
Yeah, it's also a long way till February, right, Jared? 10 months or so?
February is going to be here a lot sooner than we think, everybody.
Okay, so one more post-draft future. I'm looking at Alex, and no surprise, shocker, you have a future on the Ravens. Please, Alex, tell us why.
No.
Homer.
Please tell us why.
Hear me out. This is not a homer pick. I say this with the Ray Lewis sign all over my This is not a homer pick, though. Seriously. I'm looking at the Ravens plus 210 to win the AFC North. And first of all, the market for the division made no sense. The Browns are favored at plus 160. I get Deshaun Watson is, presumably QB1 now, but we don't know what's going on with his situation. So that makes no sense right off the bat to me. So that's ridiculous. And then, the Bengals obviously coming off the Super Bowl, but they're still the Bengals. Just no disrespect to them. So I'm looking at the Ravens and all the injuries they dealt with last year. They addressed the offensive line. They got They got a new center coming in from Iowa. He's going to be a big deal. Hopefully, he's going to come in right away and be an impact player for them. Not sure what's going to happen at receiver with getting traded away, but have a lot of faith in Rashad Bateman to take a big step forward this year. Obviously, the defense is always going to be strong. I just think the Ravens at plus 210 to win the division. I mean, the Ravens they've kind of run the AFC North. Last year was just an anomaly because of all the injuries. So I think that is probably my favorite future on the board right now if I had to make a future bet.
Yeah.
I don't hate it.
I can see it happening.
I don't hate it at all. Because I could see some regression from Cincinnati, obviously. They were in the freaking Super Bowl last year. Nobody expected that. And the positive regression with the injuries from Baltimore. And you're right. They usually are the class of that division in terms of the consistency and the way that they run their franchise. So you are getting a little bit of value on them this year because of the things that transpired this year. So I don't mind that at all.
I think the value comes with certainty surrounding Deshaun Watson. I think that's where the value is right now. As soon as we know what's going to happen with him as we get closer to the season, I think that's when we're going to see changes in the numbers. But I think 210 is probably the best number you're going to be able to get for the Ravens. If you
Cleveland being a favorite is a joke. Like they should not be the favorite to win.
They're still the Browns.
They have the Super Bowl champs in their division, and the Ravens that are a perennial 10-win team. I don't understand how the bookmakers do this every year. They did it a few years ago with Baker. Oh, Baker, Cleveland's going to be and then they don't even make the playoffs. So I think Cleveland's a bit of a paper tiger at the top of that market. I definitely think that.
It's going to be interesting to see how things kind of play out over the next few months into the summer, OTAs, training camp, preseason. We'll be keeping you updated with a lot of futures bets that we have towards the beginning of the season as well. All right, from the fields to the park for Better Up, your fees and Nerfies. Jared's been keeping track of them all season. Yes, runs first inning, no runs first inning. Your fees are 20-10 over the last 2 days. Now, season totals. Your fee. Is this your season totals, Jared, or just in general?
No, these are full season so if you blind bet every your fee this season, you would be
down 8.76 units, which you came back because
and the Nerfies are
if you bet all the Nerfies, you're down 46.07 units. But your fees 3 days ago or 4 days ago, you would have been down 50 units. So because they went 20-10 over the last 2 days, you feel pretty good about it.
Yeah, and again, the strategy for me with these is not going to change based off the data I've gotten. It's crazy to think we're already basically 1 month into the season. These are coin flip bets. They're novelty bets. They're fun. I like betting them because they're quick. You're in and out. There's plenty of novelty bets out there. You're going to get the sharps that are going to knock them. But I think they're fun, and I think there's a place for them in the gambling space. But I like to find the plus money. And I've got one today, Padres and Pirates. The Pirates have a pretty high your fee percentage, the highest actually in baseball at 66%. Both teams have actually hit the your fee in 3 straight, 2 against each other, obviously, and then 1 prior. So the your fee's been on a good run for both of these teams. And you've got Joe Musgrove against Mitch Keller today. Musgrove 2-2 on your fees this year, 1-1 on the road. Mitch Keller's been a gas can. 3-1. So he's made 4 starts this year. He's given up a run in the first inning in 3 of them, both coming at home. So 2-0 to the Urfi at home. And he does not have good numbers against the against the Padres offense. A 648 FIP and a 455 WOBA. Yikes. So I expect a run in the first inning, plus 115. Good price at MGM. Again, plus money. I feel like these bets are coin flips. So if you're on the plus side of the juice, I think it's a fun and perhaps profitable bet long term.
Between the 3 of us, we have 5 strikeout bets going on today. Alex, I'm going to go to you first. Who do you like to get a couple Ks today?
Well, first I want to address Jared in this coin flip of the Nerfy Yurfy thing, because I've said this before on this show that I'm not a big Nerfy Yurfy guy. Dipped my toe in it for the first time the other day. It was Thursday.
Just one toe.
Braves Cubs game. Just one toe. A Nerfy in the Braves Cubs game, right? I like the matchup. We had Drew Smiley on the mound and Kyle Wright. Loved it. Kyle Wright mowed through the Cubs lineup. 2 outs in the bottom of the first inning. Can you guess what happened?
Home
Austin
run.
Riley stepped up and decided to send one to the moon. And I was like, this is what, like, you know what? I don't do this because, like, I'm like, that's not fun. I was feeling good. I was like, okay, maybe I can get in it.
Yeah, but if the bet hit, it would have been fun though. It's because
Exactly.
lost.
I was having fun until 2 outs in the bottom of the first inning. Austin Riley, the first pitch he saw, he just sent,
That's why these are coin flips. These are coin flips.
Yeah.
And now Mark's
But
done
will
a
I
good
be
job
back?
with
Is the
them.
question. The
Colonel
answer
Zero.
is yes, because now I have to win one of these because I can't just go out.
You will.
I
Here's
know.
what we're
It's
gonna
like
do.
being
We're
at
gonna
the,
start
it's like
betting
being at the
some
blackjack
Coors
table.
Field Nerfies. Coors Field
It's like being at the
Nerfies. Those are
blackjack
the
table,
fun
you
ones.
lose a hand and you're like, next hand, next hand, next hand. I got it this hand. I got it this hand. You just keep losing.
No, I've seen people lose a lot of money in a very short amount of time on the blackjack table doing just that. And no, blackjack or
You gotta know when to walk away, AG. You gotta know when to
Yes.
walk away.
For
Who's your
baseball today.
strikeout prop do you have?
Oh, so it's like I have a little parlay here. On FanDuel. Cook this up. We got Kevin Gausman, who has been phenomenal this year, right? 5+ strikeouts for Kevin Gausman. He's gone over that strikeout number in each of his starts this year. He has been incredible. Going against an Astros lineup that, I mean, they're decent. They're pretty decent. Top 10 lineup, I'd probably say in baseball. But Jose Altuve on the IL. Brantley also has missed the last 2 games. More than likely going to be out as well today. So this is not an Astros lineup that is at full strength by any means. And they've also really struggled at the plate the last couple of games here. So I like Gausman to have a big game today. And the Blue Jays have just been, I mean, they're off to a strong start to this season. So I'm putting Gausman 5+ strikeouts, Blue Jays money line -106. That's my baseball play for the day.
I like it. I kind of like it. I might actually tail you on that. I was looking at Gausman strikeout props, so I might tail you on this one. Little parlay. Jared, who do you have? You have 3 strikeout props today.
Yeah, I'll give you a 4th in play of the day. And to echo what Alex was saying about the Astros, they played a 2-1 game yesterday, which is not something that Toronto or Houston does. And I was looking at Houston's lineup a lot this year because they were a lineup that I expected to be good, but their numbers have been really, really bad. They're hitting .214 this year, the Astros lineup. That's a really good Astros lineup that has just really underperformed the first month. All right, 3 strikeout props. I'll go through them quickly. Sandy Alcantara. I actually don't know if it's Alcantara or Alcantara. I always get his name wrong. I don't know which one it is. It's spelled Alcantara, but he's facing Seattle today. His number's 5.5. I'm going under on him. He's got a brutal FIP, 10.47 FIP and a 491 WOBA, but only 15 plays against his current Seattle lineup. So not a big sample size there. Fangraphs has him projected for 4.79. His last 4 starts, or his only 4 starts this year, 5, 6, 5, and 4. So he's kind of been hovering around that 5.5 mark. And I just think the Seattle lineup, which has a pretty low K rate against righties, under 22%, and a very high walk rate, almost 10%. I think they're going to, lengthen out Alcantara's start. And I think he stays under 5.5. Michael Lorenzen under 4.5 against the White Sox today. He's got a 6.02 FIP and just a 10.8 K rate against his current Angels lineup. Projected for 4.1 over at Fangraphs. His last 3 starts, he had a 7, then a 2, and then a 3. So he started out great, but he's really tailed off over his last 2 starts. White Sox, relatively low K rate against right-handed pitching this year and a very low walk rate. So that's the one concern for me in this one. But I thought it was a fair number at 4.5, so we'll go under, especially because on the road, Lorenzen's 1 road start this year did not go well. 3 1/3, 4 hits, and then 2 strikeouts against Houston. And also, I was surprised we got this number on Corbin Burns, over 8.5. And for him, that's kind of the ceiling, but we're getting plus money to the over. And it's against the Cubs lineup that, if you recall, on opening day, I mean, it was everyone loved Corbin Burns on opening day against the Cubs, and he did not pitch well. 3 earned runs and 3 walks, which is something he never does. He's projected for 9 here, and he's had double digits in his last 2 starts. So I think over 8.5 at plus money against a bad Cubs lineup at home in a revenge game feels like a pretty decent spot. So those are the 3 I'll give you now. Alcantara under 5.5. Lorenzen under 4.5. Corbin Burns over 8.5 at plus money.
I like it. The one I'm looking at, I haven't actually bet it yet because it's a little juiced. Is Max Scherzer? His strikeout prop right now is the total is 7.5. I kind of like the over, but you're laying 44 cents for it. It's at minus 144. But the Mets pitching staff has been absolutely rolling. He's 3-0 when it starts this season. 1.80 ERA, 33 strikeouts in 25 innings pitched. And the Mets have the best record in baseball. The Phillies struggle on the road. They're only 3-6 on the road so far this season. So this is more of a bet on Scherzer than it is against the batting of the Phillies. But the Phillies just aren't very consistent on the road, and Max Scherzer is freaking awesome at what he does. I haven't bet it yet. I'm trying to decide if the juice is worth the squeeze in this point. Jared, what do you think?
Let's take a look. Let's take a look at Scherzer's
Is the juice worth the
squeeze?
squeeze?
As I take a sip of my my lemon lime.
Is that yellow Gatorade in a glass?
Yeah, what are you drinking?
Hold on.
Listen, I'm in a hotel room. What do you guys want from me? The coffee machine is too far away. I had a Gatorade left. I'm gonna
No, but you poured Gatorade into a glass.
Well, I need ice. It's too warm, bro. It's warm. Aren't there
fridges in your room? Put the Gatorade in the fridge.
No, the fridge is like, if you touch anything in the fridge, you get charged like $20. It's crazy. You know, they got all like the mini bar stuff in there.
Trust me, I have experience with this. Then you put the stuff back, and then you tell them when you check out, you're like, no, I didn't actually drink that. I was just trying to use the fridge space.
Well, we're not all as charming as you when we check out, Lauren. You have a lot of experience in this. So Fangraphs has Scherzer projected for 8.2. Which is pretty solid, but that is cutting it a little bit close with, especially if you're laying 44 cents. Usually my rule of thumb is if it's one full strikeout beneath the if it's one above or one below the projection compared to where his number is, then I'll consider laying juice. If not, then it's kind of tough. I mean, he's been pretty good lately. He's gone double digits in his last 2 starts. And Philly has a Philly's K rate's pretty low against righties, and they've got a pretty decent walk rate, and their WRC plus against righties is pretty solid. I think that's a coin flip. The one thing you've got going for you, LJ, is it's the primetime game, and Scherzer does tend to,
he plays well
exude
in primetime games.
Yeah, he knows the bright lights are. It's a primetime, nationally televised game tonight on ESPN. So I would say it wouldn't be my favorite bet of the day, but I wouldn't mind it. I wouldn't mind putting a little sprinkle there on Max.
Sprinkle it on there. Something that we were deprived of yesterday, guys, is NBA. And guess what? We're back at it today. We have Western Conference semifinal game 1, Eastern Conference semifinal game 1. Let's start it out with the Bucks taking on the Celtics. The Celtics obviously were the only team to pull off the sweep in the first round. Jason Tatum had a statement series. No Chris Middleton for the Bucks at this point. He has that MCL sprain. He's out for the Celtics series. I think that's simpler for the C's to game plan against. For me, the story of this series is going to be the Celtics defense going up against Giannis Antetokounmpo, an unstoppable force meeting an immovable object. Who budges first? Alex, how do you feel about this series, and how are you betting it?
The series,
game 1, whatever you want.
Like the whole world's on the Celtics now, right? Because of the middle. I like the Celtics before the Middleton injury, and now it just feels like everyone is on the Celtics. I'm with you. I think it's going to be really tough. Giannis is going to have to put on like some type, like he's going to have to become LeBron James, right? Like if he can beat this Celtics team, it would be one of the more impressive playoff performances that we've seen recently, right? Because it's going to take him having just massive games this entire series for him to beat this Celtics team that from top to bottom, I think this is the best team in the East. I know you can make an argument for the Heat, but I think this Celtics team is the best team in the East. So it's going to be a tough series for the Bucks and a tough series for Giannis. I'm excited to see it because I think that if there is a player who's capable of putting on that kind of performance I'm talking about, it's Giannis. So we'll see.
Yeah, Jared, how do you feel? Are you betting the series at all, Jared? Because I have a few bets on the series that I can go through too.
Yeah, I haven't bet anything for this series yet. The one pick that you have that I really like is the Celtics in 7. Scal was talking about that before a little bit earlier in the week when we were kind of previewing this series. I mean, listen. When you look at these two teams, it's kind of the opposite. Like they're kind of mirror images of each other
Mm-hmm.
because one of them really likes to run and play offense and score a bunch of points and take a bunch of threes, and the other one's really good defensive team. Milwaukee's kind of outgunned them this year. They dropped the buck 27 on them just a few weeks ago, back on April 7th. Now, granted, that was towards the end of the year. The seedings were kind of locked up.
Mm-hmm.
And Milwaukee also scored, decent number on them on Christmas Day. That was a good game, actually. 117, 113. Milwaukee's won the last two matchups this year. Boston did win one. Actually, Boston's won two. So they split the
Yeah,
season
they split
series.
the series
Boston won
this
the
year.
first two matches. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I think this is going to be a back and forth series. I was looking at the MGM splits this morning. Actually, the bets are kind of split. 54-46. Boston's getting a little bit of the edge there in bets. Handle a little bit more slanted towards Boston, 67% to 33%. So the bigger bets are on the Celtics. The one thing I'll mention in this game, the Bucks have lost 3 straight game ones in the Western
not
in the
good
Eastern
in game
Conference
ones,
semifinals.
Jared. Yes.
No, but they've won 2 of 3 of those series. So they might have lost game 1 in each of their last 3 second-round series, but again, they have won those series. The reason I like Celtics in 7 is because if it goes 7, Boston will be at home, they will be favored again, and then you'll have some flexibility. So if you're going to bet this series to go 7, I would take it a step further and bet Celtics in 7 because, again, in Game 7, you will have the world as your oyster. You can come back on Milwaukee plus 4.5, hope for a close game. It can be a middle, or you can just bet Bucks money line and be plus money on both sides. So I think Bucks or Celtics in 7 will be the only pre-series bet I would make. But I think this is going to be a really fun series. Of the 2 series in the East, now without Embiid, very much interested in this one over than the Miami Philly one.
Yeah, we'll get into that tomorrow. The Miami Philly game, but for me, I have quite a few bets actually on the series. So first of all, I'll just talk about I was trying to look at like who's the most trustworthy in this game, and it's Boston's defense is the most trustworthy unit. Who's the least trustworthy unit? It's the Bucks offense, especially without Chris Middleton. Can the Bucks score enough? So I like the Celtics here in game 1 laying the 4.5. I know that number is big. It's a -112 on FanDuel, but Boston is just solid right now. They're 30-6 since January 29th, and those 6 losses were each by a single bucket, which is pretty incredible. Boston was number 1 in both offensive and defensive rating from January 29th to the end of the season. And their defense ranked first in both 2 and 3-point percentage allowed. Opponents are not able to get quality shots up, and that can be an issue for Milwaukee because they kind of lack creativity at sometimes, and especially with no Chris Middleton. They're going to have a hard time getting up some of those shots, especially on a defense as swarming as Boston is. So I like them laying 4.5 points in this spot. In terms of the series, I have the series correct score. Celtics winning the series 4-3, and that's plus 370. I got that at FanDuel. Even with no Chris Middleton, this series should go all the way to 7. The Celtics have the home court advantage, though. The Bucks have pulled out some stellar road wins in the playoffs in recent years. It's hard to see them going into the Garden, though, and winning a game 7 without Chris Middleton, even with how good Giannis is, having the best player in the world on your team. And so then obviously off of that, I have the series total games at 7. I got that at plus 195 on FanDuel. The series should go the distance, in my opinion. Both teams are pretty evenly matched on paper. The Celtics have the benefit of being completely healthy entering the series. So I'm backing them to get the last game in game 7 in Boston. And then the series spread, I like Bucks plus 1.5. I haven't actually bet this because it's a little juiced. You pay 38 cents for it. But it is hard to see the Bucks losing this series by more than a game, even without Middleton. They have the best player in the world, and they have a 2-way star guard in Drew Holiday. They have a lot of great rotation players. The Bucks have shown they can win on the road, so I think it's going to be a close series all the way. But Game 7 in the Garden, I think that the C's are going to be able to pull away, especially with the defense that they have. So those are the 4 bets I have going into today. Celtics laying 4.5. Series correct score, Celtics 4-3, plus 370 on FanDuel. Series total games, 7, plus 195 on FanDuel. And series spread, Bucks plus 1.5,
The
minus
Bucks.
138. The Bucks, let's go Bucks.
Let's go Bucks.
Yeah, the Bucks are not characteristically good in game one. And especially the C's had, not that much more time off, but a little bit more time off after sweeping the Nets in the first round. They had a couple extra days to be able to rest and prepare. So that's how I'm doing it. Alex, you're on a couple prop bets for this game, which I like.
Yeah, I got a couple props for today. This is just playing the hits at this point, right? Jason Tatum over 5.5 assists, went over it in 3 or 4 games against Brooklyn. Tatum, that's what he's gonna do tonight, right? Like he's gonna get 6 assists, is what he does. The one I really like though, aside from Tatum, Bobby Portis over 9.5 rebounds, -114 on FanDuel. Went over it in 5 of 6 games against the Bulls. I'm not sure what happened in game 3 though. Only had 2 rebounds in that game there. But Bobby Portis, I think, is going to and I have to pull this up. Bobby Portis double-double. I wonder what that pays out. But I really like Bobby Portis to get 10 rebounds, and for Jason Tatum to do what he does and get us 6 assists. I think those are my 2 props that I'm looking at for that game.
I'm so excited for this.
Rebounding numbers.
Yeah.
Really good.
Yeah.
Portis?
I'm really excited for this series.
Yeah.
It's gonna be super exciting to see how this plays out. I think we're gonna have a hard-fought 7-game, tough, gritty series. I'm interested to see kind of how the Bucks adjust against the C's, especially offensively, without Chris Middleton. So we'll see how they're able to kind of go around Jason Tatum in the wall of a defense that team has. It's going to be interesting. But moving on to the West, we have the Warriors obviously taking on the Grizzlies. The Grizzlies coming off of a emotional, hard-fought Game 6 win on Friday. Quick freaking turnaround for them. After they clinched the series on Friday, they're already playing today. John Morant's dad, said that Ja played like trash in that series. So that's good that your dad is saying that you play like trash. I'm assuming that he's going to turn around a little bit and have a tougher fought series. But it's going to be interesting to see a young, hungry team like the Grizzlies go up against a veteran, experienced championship team like the Warriors. The big story, obviously, Steph Curry taking on Ja Morant. Jared, how do you kind of see this series playing out?
Oh, I love the Warriors in this series. And there's a bunch of different ways that you can play it, but it's tough to lay the -200 because you just don't know how it's going to play out. And you might get a better price at some point in the series, but I am very confident that Golden State's going to win this series. I listen, take nothing away from Memphis, but their basketball IQ in that series against Minnesota, very, very poor. They probably should have gotten swept based off of where they were in the results.
They came back from double digits, 4 or 5. I don't even know how many times it was.
I was going to say, respectfully, you're saying don't take anything away from Memphis. The Timberwolves blew double-digit leads in 5 of 6 games. Like, let's bring it back to reality.
And Golden State's not going to do that. Golden State's not going to do that. No. Because their basketball IQ is through the roof. They've got an unbelievable head coach, and they've got 3 guards on the floor that could beat you in very different ways. I will say I think Memphis has an edge inside. Brandon Clark was unbelievable in the series against Minnesota, and Jaren Jackson's a 2-way big. He can play inside, he can play outside. So I'm curious how Steve Kerr adjusts. But you said it, Lauren. Friday night, they have an emotional Game 6 win where they were down double digits again and came back and won. Very quick turnaround to Sunday afternoon. Very
Let me
now,
add on
home.
that inside, Jared. You talked about the Memphis having the edge inside. Yeah, I actually looked at these stats. Golden State, they have a defensive rebounding percentage of 65.8 in the first round. That's the 3rd lowest mark among the 16 postseason teams. And the Grizzlies are a problem on the offensive glass. They ranked 1st in the NBA in offensive rebounding percentage. So that is something that Steve Kerr is going to have to adjust in this first round.
You guys are like walking right into one of my plays. You're walking right into one of my plays.
Let's give it up. Tee it up for us, baby. Tee it up. Let's
go. Okay. We're talking rebounds, right? So I'm at who is an athletic guy that is capable of grabbing. Draymond Green is going to get his on the inside, but I'm looking at Andrew Wiggins over 5.5 rebounds at plus money here, plus 106 on FanDuel. I like the value in plus money here. Went over it in 4 or 5 games against the Nuggets. Steve Kerr's come out and said they need to rebound. They need to be more athletic. That is how they're going to beat this this Grizzlies team. And I think Andrew Wiggins grabbing boards is going to be one of the keys to this series. So I'm liking him to go over that number in Game 1, like that today.
Yeah,
He's gone
that
over
actually
in
is
5
good.
of 6. Yeah, or excuse me, of the 5 games against Denver, he went over in 4 of them. So I
Hmm.
I like that angle too. I like when we hear
Yeah.
coaches say we need to stress the hustle stats. And a guy like
Yes.
Jermaine Wiggins, who is fighting for playing time now that Steph Curry is a starter again,
Hmm.
that is where he can make his hay on the boards because he is
Totally.
tough and athletic, and they're going to need a lot of beef in this series. I'll be honest, that's why I'm not willing to bet Golden State now. I think there is a chance that Memphis steals a game in Golden State, and that'll tilt the odds a little bit back where you can maybe think about betting Golden State to win the series.
Hmm.
Um, but man, oh man, it's tough to fade this Warriors team right now. They
No,
are
it is.
so hot, and they've got the pedigree. They've been in the finals before with basically this exact same roster, the same coach, the same star guards, and we got them at 5-1. Thank you very much, Scal, to win the West a couple weeks ago, and I'm just riding that future to the end of
Yeah.
the rainbow, baby, because I think they are going to be in the West Final against a Suns team that maybe is a little bit thin, a little bit
Hmm.
banged up, a little bit worn down with Chris Paul and the tread on his tires and Devin Booker's injury. So I think if you're sitting on one of those Warriors tickets that Scal gave us a couple weeks ago, I think you're in a good spot. You don't need to go crazy with this series. We're feeling
Yeah.
really good about the Warriors advancing into the West Final and having a 5-1 ticket in your back pocket.
Well, even if you're
Well, I'm
not,
gonna,
even if you don't have that ticket, the way I'm betting this first game is the Warriors to win game 1 and the series. Because if you're betting Warriors money line at this point, you're laying 34 cents. If you bet them to win game 1 and the series, you get that at plus 115. I got that on
I like
FanDuel.
it.
Yeah, and so that's how I'm betting this first game, especially. I'm also betting Warriors spread, but to get it at plus money, I like the Warriors to win game 1 and the series. Sorry, I interrupted you, Alex. Keep going.
No. My other play for this game was just sitting up on the screen, and I'm just staring at it, and I was like, all right, I might as well talk about it. Sitting there. Let's John Morant. Under 34.5 points and assists at minus 110. He went over that number twice against the Timberwolves, right? But then when you look at how he was able to go over that, he shot 7 more free throws in both of those games. 36% of his points coming from the free throw line in game 5. 50% of his points coming from the free throw line in the other game that was game 5. Game 1 was where 50% of his points came from the free throw line. So I look at how this Warriors team, right? Like how do you beat the Grizzlies? You take John Morant out the game. They're going to be throwing bodies at him, long, athletic guys. Klay Thompson's probably not going to be on him. He's probably going to be on Bane if I had to guess, defending that 3-point line, trying to run Bane off that 3. But Ja's going to be seeing a lot of guys, and I don't like Ja. Even if he is able to use his athleticism to get to the cup, he's going to meet Draymond. So I'm not, and this is a skilled guy that knows how to defend without fouling. Ja, I don't see him getting to the free throw line at that rate, at least in game 1. So I'm looking at the under here, 34.5 at minus 110. Seems like a good.
Yeah,
I like that a lot, Alex. I really
I do
do.
too.
I watched Ja in that game 6, and he did not have the ability to create his own shot. And that's because Minnesota really, took him away.
This is a
Draymond
stronger
on Ja,
defense than
what
that
do you think
Timberwolves
about
defense.
that matchup? Draymond on Ja. What do you think that's something
Draymond,
Steve Kerr
no,
might
no,
try,
no.
or do you think that's a bad matchup?
No, not Draymond on Ja. No, I think that he's going to probably see. I would guess Gary Payton. He's going to he's going to see a lot of Jordan Poole. I think that those are going to be the guys that he sees for the bulk of this game. Because I think Klay Thompson's going to be running around with Bane.
Yeah, I like it.
Can we talk about Jordan Poole for a second, who's been shooting 55% from the floor and 48% from 3? Come on now. It's crazy. Yeah. So I talked about one of my bets, the Warriors to win game 1 and the series plus 115 on FanDuel. I also like the series total games to bet this before the series starts. 6 games plus 185. The Warriors will win in 6. Mark my words right now. Memphis isn't going to fold easily, and they're going to push it to at least 6 games, but it's hard to see the Golden State Warriors losing at home. So Memphis would need to hold them off for game 7. They've had shaky performances against the Timberwolves. They got a little bit lucky in those games coming back from double digits to be able to win some of those games. It's hard to believe in that. And I don't think it was as much Memphis playing well in the fourth quarter as it was the Timberwolves just absolutely blowing their lead that they had. So I just don't necessarily believe in the Memphis Grizzlies right now. I love what they're doing, though. They're a young, hungry team, but Golden State Warriors just have too much veteran leadership on their team. They've been there, done that. They know how to take care of business in a spot like this. I want to get into our best bets of the day because Alex and I both have a best bet that's exactly the same, and I love that for us. So before we do, let's go to the Pickswise.com website. Jared, who do we have for our 3-star play of the day today?
Yeah, we got a few here. If you're interested in betting the MLS, Luke Lindholm's got something on the San Jose Earthquakes NYCFC game. That starts in about 2 hours-ish, 1 o'clock Eastern, so 10 a.m. Pacific. So, yeah, about 2 hours. Mark Lammy's got something on the Angels and the White Sox total. Brian Prouty has a Phillies-Mets side. And this is in agreement with how LJ sees Max Scherzer's night playing out. So, 3 stars on the day. 3 stars, 3 bets.
Pickswise.
Check it out. Pickswise.com.
3 stars on the day, 3 stars on the show, baby. You'll love to see it. Go to Pickswise.com. Read why we're trying to win you some money. Okay, let's get into our best bets of the day. Jared, I'll go with you first, obviously, because you're giving another strikeout prop. And then Alex and I will finish out with our Warriors spread bet that we both like.
I wonder where you're going to go in that direction. So this is kind of a homer pick, I guess. I'm playing on the Yankees offense by taking Daniel Lynch's under 4.5 strikeouts, laying 38 cents over at FanDuel. How about this? An 11.91 FIP and a 462 WOBA against the current Yankees lineup. Now, it's only 17 plate appearances, not a ton of sample size there. I get it. But this Yankees lineup's got some boppers in it. They're on a massive heater right now. He's projected for 3.1, which is a very low projection. He's had 2 games of 7 strikeouts this year, which is very good. But it was sandwiched around a 2-strikeout performance against the Twins, who have a very powerful swinging lineup similar to this Yankees lineup. The Yanks also very low K rate against lefties, just 22.6%, and a very high WRC plus. About an average walk rate. Again, this is a Yankees lineup with Judge and Stanton and a lot of good right-handed batters against the left-handed Lynch. So we will take under 4.5 strikeouts. Daniel Lynch laying 38 cents over at FanDuel. Go Yankees, baby. Bronx Bombers.
I like it.
At
honestly,
Stadium
you said
today.
They have a lot of boppers, and all I can think about when you said boppers was like, do you guys remember the Bop It? Bop It. Twist it. Hit it. Oh my gosh, those are like the days.
Oh, Lauren.
Things were like easy back in those days. Things were really easy back in those days. I want to go back to the Bop It days. But I digress. Okay, Warriors series. Alex, how do you feel about it? Because I'm going to add on because we're on this. I love when we have the same play of the day because not a lot of the times Alex and I agree on things.
We usually go against each other.
So this is really nice. You know that it's a good pick when we're both on the same side.
Yeah, I'm laying 2 points with the Warriors today. Listen, the Grizzlies have been a great story, but let's not sugarcoat this, guys. The Timberwolves blew double-digit leads in 5 of 6 games in that series.
5.
The Warriors are not going to do that. They are a great fourth-quarter team. They are going to close things out. They are not going to lay down. This Grizzlies team won and covered 3 of 4 matchups this season against this Warriors team, but this is a much different and much better version of the Warriors than they've seen all season. They're getting Draymond Green back. They have not had that. Klay Thompson may have missed time. This is a healthy team that is working together and plays basketball that they played all season. Number 1 in offensive rating, shooting better than every team in the playoffs aside from the Suns. The best 3-point shooting team in the playoffs right now. They have the rest advantage. They have the playoff experience. And that's why I'm comfortable laying the points with them today against this Grizzlies team.
That basically backing the same thing that Alex said. I'm hesitant to back the Grizzlies at all, even though they are the higher seed. Everyone's like, well, they came back in the fourth quarter. They've been playing incredible in the fourth quarter. Yeah, they have good fourth quarter scoring, but it's also because the Timberwolves absolutely laid down. I could have scored against the Timberwolves in the fourth quarter in those 5 games, to be honest with you. Golden State right now is right behind the Grizzlies in the NBA this postseason in fourth quarter scoring. 30.6 points per game in the fourth quarter, which is just behind Memphis. And they were playing a Nuggets team that, in my opinion, played a little bit better defense than the Timberwolves did in the fourth quarter. I don't know. You guys can disagree with me on that, but I don't. You look at Minnesota; they blew a double-digit lead in 5 of 6 games of round one. That involves a lot of luck for the Memphis Grizzlies. They're not going to get as lucky against a team like Golden State, who's been there, done that, veteran leadership. And you talked about it, Alex. Right now, they're offensively dominating, especially, like, I think their offensive rating is like 121.9. That's number one in the playoffs up to this point. Their three-point shooting, they're shooting 42.2% overall, 51.5% from the field. It's just incredible. And then you go to a guy like Jordan Poole, who's shooting 55% from the floor and 48.4% from beyond the arc. You have these veteran guys, and you also have young guys. Memphis is going to have their hands full in a game like this. So I like Golden State laying the points here in game one. They've also been resting since Wednesday, and obviously Memphis is coming off of that emotional win on Friday. That's a really freaking quick turnaround. I know they're playing at home here for game one, but at the same time, and I know they're a young team, but it's just a really, really quick turnaround when a team like the Golden State Warriors, who have veteran leadership, who are solid, especially on the offensive end, and defensively, they played really great team defense. The Memphis Grizzlies are going to have their hands full in a game like this, and they cannot rely on having a good fourth quarter to be able to come back if they're down by double digits against a team like the Golden State Warriors. Lay the points, baby. Warriors laying 2, Golden State in 6. Lock it in.
We're talking about the fourth quarters, though. Here's the thing, though. It's not that they had great fourth quarters. It's that the Timberwolves weren't scoring in those fourth quarters. They were playing terrible.
Literally.
So that's the thing. It was the Timberwolves.
Carl Anthony Towns just like
more so
fell off
than, I mean, hold on. Don't even get me started on Cat blowing kisses,
oh,
waving goodbyes. Don't even get me started on that. But, it had more to do with the Timberwolves than the Grizzlies for the majority of those fourth quarter double-digit blown leads.
Yeah,
and it's not physically bouncing back. Like you're right, Lauren. Physically, Memphis a young team. They'll be fine. Mentally, after the high, I mean, you saw Ja doing the gritty off the court. Like
freaking gritty. He did the gritty like 10 times.
On the logo. Dude. Which I love, by the way.
On the logo. Like, that usually doesn't go well when you're at that high and then you have to turn around and get back. I mean, they're going to have to play at a much, much higher sustained level for 48 minutes to beat the Warriors. And I just don't know mentally if they're up for that challenge. Maybe as the series goes on, they'll start to make some adjustments. But I'll be honest, I give the coaching edge to Steve Kerr as well. This is going to be – there's a reason why Memphis has the home court edge, but the Warriors are laying $2 on the series price. That is a very interesting, discrepancy between what we usually see in the NBA playoffs, where the home team tends to be at least – maybe not favored, but at least closer to a pick 'em. I mean, 66% implied odds is what the bookmakers are saying. The Warriors are going to win this series, and they're going to be road dogs or the road team in 3 of them if it goes 7. So I think Golden State is the squad, and I'd be shocked if they're not in the Western Conference Final.
Round 2 all starts today. That's it for us today. Find us on the Pickswise YouTube channel. Go to Pickswise.com. Follow us on Twitter. Jared Smith, Alex Glaze. I'm Laura Jabara. Best of luck tonight, you guys. We'll see you tomorrow. Happy Sunday, fun day. Let's get it. Let's bet it.